Three, two, one. Welcome to Why do I say it like that? Welcome to Broadcast to Badass. Now I'm just smiling as I say it. Hold on.
You know what would be so fun?
What?
If we ask our listeners to record intros for us and submit them, and then we'll pick a winner and use it.
Oh my God, I kind of like that. Anything to not hear myself say welcome again, I'm in.
So since we're recording, then we're doing it. It's a contest.
All right. But in the meantime, welcome to Broadcast to Badass by Best Life Ever with your hosts, Kimi and Pua. If you're ready to stop struggling, stop hustling, and start living your best life ever, you are in the right place. And wherever that is, wherever you are, be sure to click subscribe so that you never miss an episode.
Yep. Guys, today, this is like the theme of the week, which is very appropriate for a weekly podcast, but we are so excited, are you surprised, to talk about something that we've talked about for so many years. And it's funny because our business has evolved so much since we started, but this has been one of the themes that is carried over from all of the different ways that we've served. And so we're hitting our fourth secret on our awesome free download on our website, 5 Secrets to Building a Badass Online Business. And this secret really is not just about building a business, it's about having a life that you love. And it is harnessing the power of work-life integration.
Yay, I love this. And work-life integration, if you haven't heard of this phrase before, it's the new work-life balance, really. And work-life balance is something that you're probably familiar with. You know, people for years, I always said like, oh, I need more work-life balance. And through our studies and through our own experimentation in our own life, what we've really found is that trying to balance anything in your life is a recipe for, you're just pitting them against each other. And it can feel like you're just constantly, like imagine the imagery, right, of trying to balance things. To me, I think of a juggler trying to balance all these different plates, like spinning plates, and it can feel really exhausting. And yeah, you feel like your work and your life are then compartmentalized and kind of fighting against each other. So maybe you feel like you're really crushing it in your work, but then your personal life is suffering. Or maybe you feel like, things are going really well with your health and your wellness, but work is suffering, or relationships are suffering, or whatever it is. And so the concept of work-life integration, which we love, is this idea that there isn't compartmentalization happening. All of your work and your life and all aspects of who you are integrated so that they're all cohesively working together, and your values are aligned, you're feeling inspired, and things are integrated instead of fighting against each other. So we're going to dig deep into our favorite work-life integration secrets as part of creating your best business and life ever.
Yeah. So the first on your checklist, and if you don't have this checklist, head over to bestlifeever.buzz. A window will pop up. Just put your email in, your name, your email, and we'll email this to you. And so it's a checklist of 5 different secrets. And there's 3 things today that we're going to chat about. And the first is aligning your work with the things you value most. And we will say that this kind of came about because we were coaching corporate teams and executives and people who had many things to do in each day that they didn't necessarily love. And even though that's a little bit that, the number of things that you don't love as an entrepreneur hopefully is smaller, but we all still have things. We also have frogs that we have to eat that aren't fun, like our taxes and, things like that. So that's really where this came from, but it's just a good idea to do it for everything. And what we mean by this is I will use an excuse of something that you don't like because it's a little bit easier to conceptualize. So say you have to, what do I not like to do? Go check the mail. And, every morning you got to go check the mail and you hate it. You hate it so much. There's like, you just can't really find anything good about it. It's just a pain in the butt. You got to go out of your way to do it. All these things that you tell yourself for reasons why you hate checking the mail. If you tell yourself, oh, I just thought of a better example. It's okay. If you tell yourself that there might be a check for you in the mail, you never know. Or, there you could have your Amazon order come today. Like if there is something that excites you, that aligns with something that you value in that task, all of a sudden your mindset can shift into a place not of dread, but of excitement, right? The other example is I like to tell myself that I don't like social media, although I don't really know if that's true. I'm working on it. And so one of the things I'm working on is Instagram stories. And I used to think it was so stupid, such a pain. It makes me not be present and all these things. But when I realized that it's important and it's a really cool way to reach people and connect with people who may be interested in the things that I'm doing or that we're doing as a business, it reframed it. So it then aligns with something that I value so much. And now I like to do it. It's exciting. And I'm inspired to do that more. So does that even make any sense?
Absolutely. And do you remember when we were in the fitness world too, this was something that we used a lot as a motivation strategy for people, right? So because not everybody loves to exercise, right? And so we would always say, like, if you're having trouble getting to the gym or getting to the classes that you want to, taking care of yourself, align it with something that you really, really value. Like, for example, many people value family. So how does working out give you the energy to be, there for your family, to be healthy, to keep up with your kids, whatever it may be? For some people, like I know for us, we really value our, like, having full brain capacity. So we deeply link exercise with being able to show up better at our job, right? Having more energy, having more brain power for what we do. And so, yeah, when you get really clear about what it is that you value and you begin linking it with everything that you do, you have this new energy available to you and power, and things just become a whole heck of a lot easier.
Right. Now there's a second level to this, or a second layer, that, there are non-negotiables. There are things that we have to do. And sometimes there are things that aren't that fun for us. And so this is really useful for that. But we don't want to get stuck in justifying things that we aren't stuck doing some things that aren't fun for us, especially as business owners. We have so many more choices than we give ourselves credit for every day. And one of the things that Kimi and I just did this week was, like, I feel like we've talked about this on podcasts before, because it's a little bit cyclical. As our business grows, our calendars get more full. So every so often we take a step back and we're like, oh my God, why is our calendar such a shit show? And so this week we actually looked at our calendars. We invested in a new calendar system. We did quite a bit of revamping of our schedules. And so this was something that, like, we're not just going to say we're so busy and overwhelmed and scattered, but, let's find a way to link that to our highest value and our highest good so that we just don't feel as bad about it. Like, that's not what we mean here. So really, when you're thinking about some of the things that don't inspire you or that drain your energy and reframing them, it's really important to also be aware and really ask yourself, is this a non-negotiable? Is this something that I have any control over at all? And if I do, could I change the situation?
Totally. Yeah. It's like, either don't do it anymore or figure out how you're going to love doing it. But, like, don't get stuck in the middle too.
Right.
Yeah.
That's best life ever right there. It's creating a life by design, not by default.
Yes.
Right? Don't just sit in feeling like crap. That's so good.
Right. Well, and I think that I love, oh my gosh, Let me just say, I loved what we did with our calendar. I'm so excited about it. And it's so fun to have a business partner that, is aligned with that type of thinking and is willing to push through the stickiness and figure it out. I love what problem solvers we are. Like we both kind of get excited by the puzzle of it. It's like solving a puzzle. And
Mm-hmm.
both of us went to our calendars and we're like, okay, like the questions we asked ourselves, right? Like, what is it about our schedule right now that we don't like? Why is it like this? Like all of those questions is what led us to design a better way and to flip it, to reschedule a few things if we needed to not do a few things if that's what was called for, and then to just shift things around and create a better system. So, and it took some time. Like, let's just say, how many hours did we spend reworking, unfucking our schedule, right? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
it was not something that we just kind of, took a couple minutes, but it saved us hours and so much stress. And so it's always worth it. Stitch in time saves nine, as they say.
For sure. Which is like really a great segue to our second
Yes.
thing, our second checkbox,
Our second
checkpoint,
thing.
point, secret, mini secret, sub secret. What are these?
Sub secret. I like sub
Sub
secret.
secret. Fancy.
Yeah, protecting your time and energy by setting boundaries. Oh my God, I love boundaries so much. Boundaries are seriously the secret to the best life ever, don't you think?
Yes. One of many.
What's up? One of
One of
many.
many.
One of many for sure. Yeah. So, when we, by the way, did this revamping of our schedule, we didn't start, the place we started was at the foundation, at the root. And the root for us is, what is our ideal schedule? What are the things that are most important to us that we want to make sure are in our calendar? And for us, that was like, making sure that we had certain days off, making sure that we actually put our workouts in first, which I think was such a really beautiful example of our business culture. So we put our workouts in first, we put the time blocks that we needed, and we're all, as humans, we typically need a bunch of different types of time. So identifying what those types of times are for yourself and then putting them in your calendar. So sorry, that's kind of vague, but here's what I mean by that. We identified that we need time alone to get deep work done for our business. We need time together to brainstorm and to do things like revamp our schedule. So really deep time together. And then we needed time, doing promotional stuff for our business. So meetings, connecting, podcast interviews, having people on our podcast, right? So there's that sort of production time. And then we also wanted time with our families. We also wanted time, to just be able to clean the house if we want to or feel inspired, time to run errands. And so identify the different types of time that you need and how long of a block you need for each, and then put those in your calendar first. And then protect those blocks of time like it is sacred, because it is.
For sure. I think that's where we kind of came up upon up upon great upon came up upon. I'm gonna not even say that. I can't stop laughing. Oh my God. That's where we bumped into some really big challenges in our schedule. And it's so funny because if someone else were to look at our calendars when we felt super scattered, they'd be like, well, I don't get it because this doesn't really look that bad. But for us, as Kimi said, we are so sensitive and like in tune with what we need, our time, our energy, how we work best, because we really crave efficiency so that we can do the things that we love. And our lives were lacking the things that that really brought us joy outside of our work. And our work brings us a lot of joy. Don't get us wrong, but there was just a lot of work in our schedules. And I know that sounds kind of bratty, but that really is like best life ever. And it's the whole 4-hour work week phenomenon, right? Like we want to work efficiently so we don't have to work as much so that we can love our lives. And what was getting in the way of that were like us not being super firm with our boundaries. So we would, we'd send out a calendar to book a podcast interview. And then we'd get an email saying, "Oh, I'm not able to make this time. Do you guys have any other times available?" And we'd look at our calendars and we'd see a block of time on another day and we'd be like, "Oh, what about this day? It looks free." So in the heat of the moment, we're like, "Yeah, yeah, sure, go ahead. Yeah, let's send it to them." And they would book. And so all of a sudden we had all these podcast interviews peppered in all of these blocks of time that would have been really great for deep work, for working out, for working together, getting things done. And all of a sudden, we just felt like we had no time for anything because the time that we did have was in little chunks. So like an hour here, half an hour there. And there are a lot of people who function this way and often feel very burnt out and busy. So it might be worth taking a look at your calendar today to see where you can start to kind of batch things in bulk. So if you tend to have a lot of meetings or calls, could you maybe condense the time that you offer to people to a couple of days a week? Or, you have 6 hours on a Thursday morning that you're opening for calls. And now anybody who typically books Tuesday and Wednesday will find a time on Thursday, and then it'll free up your other days. There's always something that you can do. And the other thing that we really, I don't know why this didn't occur to us. We looked at our calendars and we were like, well, I guess this can't start till July, and it's mid-May because it's just that crazy. And we're like, why don't we just reschedule people? People reschedule with us all the time, and we just don't think anything of it because that's life. So why do we feel bad about asking other people to reschedule with us? So we reached out and, we started to reschedule a few things so that we could do more of what we love.
Yes. Yeah, one thing that I'm becoming really aware of too as we grow and expand is as creative entrepreneurs, the sort of the ebb and flow of creativity and of work. And I really need that ebb and flow of okay, we have like a day of meeting with a bunch of people, and then I need time after that to have quiet time so that I can take action on the things that came of all of the meetings, right? And I think that's what a lot of people, as they're creating their calendars, don't account for, is that if you spend a full day of, brainstorming and coming up with ideas and meeting with people, you're going to need a bit of time after that to implement the things that came up from that creative time. So it's like you need creative time and then you need implementation time. Create, implement. And without that, you end up feeling like you just are like constantly in brainstorming output mode or input mode instead of the creation mode. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? It's like that ebb and flow of the workload.
Yeah, for sure. And for us, we're two people of a company. And while we have, we outsource certain things, we do a lot of the work ourselves. And perhaps if this is resonating with you, it's time to look at what else you can outsource or how else you can leverage other services to free up your time. And that's really a great sign that your business is growing, and that you're scaling. And that's something that we really spend a lot of time teaching in our B2B course for business owners is like, let's not, and we talked about this in our last episode, let's stop trading our time for dollars when we don't need to. And you own your business, you do what you do because you have gifts, you have things that you are very talented at, and that's how you're serving and changing the world. Don't outsource those things. But what do you spend your time on? And this was kind of part 2 of our schedule revamp. What are you spending your time on that you don't need to be? What could be done by someone else? What could you outsource, automate, delegate to someone so that you can free up more time to either do more of the things for your business that bring you joy and that serve others, or create more time for joy?
Totally. Yeah. And, one more note that I just thought of when it comes to protecting time and energy by setting boundaries. It's not just about, okay, I'm going to block out this time in my calendar and treat it as sacred and not schedule anybody there. But when you have that block of time, it's important to also set digital boundaries in terms of like having your phone on do not disturb if that's appropriate for you. Like we are so inundated with notifications and just email, and oh my gosh, like the most heartbreaking thing to me, and well, it's not the most heartbreaking thing in the world, like that's really dramatic, but when people just have their email open all day long, and like to me that's just like, it's like having no boundaries at all, because we live in this weird time where we feel like we need to be accessible 24 hours a day, and we just don't get our best work done or feel our best when we just constantly have the physical and the digital doors open to us at all times.
Yeah, I used to work for a company, and they were really ahead of their time in terms of the virtual workspace. So it was a multinational organization with employees all over the world and only like 5 physical offices or headquarters. So it was really incredible. But the culture of the business was that when you were working, you had your Gmail open and your GChat was on. That's how people knew that you were working. And so as an employee, I was like, well, I feel like I have to always have my email open so that my boss sees that my little thing is green so that he knows that I'm working. And it was just this strange thing. And I know for a fact that that is the culture of many organizations today. So if you're listening to this and that's you, or if you manage an organization and this sounds like something that you practice, perhaps it could be worth considering an alternative. And I do think that GChat has like a separate app now or a Chrome plugin so that you can just be on that and not in your email. But yeah, it's so true, especially if you just get emails all day long. Setting an email schedule and actually scheduling time to check it in your calendar is a great way to set boundaries.
Absolutely.
And training people, and like training people to know that you're not going to check your email all day long. If they want to get in touch with you, pick up the phone and call you. Isn't that a weird thing to do?
Crazy. Yeah, I remember hearing something about how when every time a notification pulls you out of the flow, it can take your brain like 20 minutes to get back into the groove. Mm-hmm. If you kind of think about it, like if you're driving on a freeway and you keep taking the exit, like what it takes to ramp back up to that speed again is a really great metaphor for like what's going on in your brain. So if we can create those blocks of time, it's so much more efficient, and we just tend to feel like less scatterbrained and less overwhelmed.
For sure. And you could use something like the Pomodoro technique if that sounds, you're like, I can't work for 3 hours straight. I just can't do it. Like, no, that's not what we're saying. I can't either. But that 20 minutes on, 5 minutes off, or 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off is a great work interval. And quite honestly, the way that I like to work, and I think this might drive other people crazy, but it also might, give some people permission that you don't actually need to also work in a similar way. But I actually don't mind working on, 2 or 3 projects at the same time. So on my computer, I might be like, we've been revamping our calendar, which has been kind of a beast of a project. And so I'll have that window open. I'll have our website open and a couple of other things, right? And so I think I may have like sort of like ADD-ish. I don't even like saying that because I think ADD is a great thing to have. So I'm not saying it as a bad thing. I think it's awesome. If I do have it, that's rad. But I like to just hop around, but I am very intentional about it. So it's not mindless. And that's new for me because I think I used to just get bored of something, open Facebook, open my Instagram, send a text message, open my email. Like that to me is a big waste of time if it takes you out of the flow for too long. But I set timers and I do work on multiple things in the same day, but it's not random. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally makes sense.
Like Crichton. Almost,
Yeah. And I think I do that too. Yeah. And it's just about knowing yourself and how you best work and being sensitive to, like, we all kind of know when we're getting pulled out of the flow and when we have that like overwhelm happening in our brain. And so what are the strategies that you have in place to bring you back into the moment? And then I have one more epic hack for boundary setting. And this is something that I've had to learn because I was always much more, I guess I didn't have the script and I didn't have the muscle built, but I have really worked on it over the years. And that is the power, not just the power of saying no to things, but the power of like giving yourself a little bit of time to decide whether or not you want to do something. So what I mean by that is often what happens is somebody will ask us to do something, and immediately, because especially as recovering people pleasers, we may be like, sure, okay. And that's like our gut reaction, like our first thing to say. And instead, what we can practice, and again, it's just a practice experiment with this. Can you buy yourself some time to make a decision more mindfully instead of impulsively, so that you can really choose whether or not it's something that you want to say yes to? So for example, somebody says, hey, can you help me with this? Before I'd be like, yeah, okay. And then I'd be like, oh, fuck. And instead, can you say something like, oh my gosh, that sounds awesome. Let me check my calendar. It's so simple, right? And it's like something that we wouldn't even think twice of if somebody said to us, but it's just allowing yourself a little bit of breathing time and space to really say yes from a place where people can trust your yes and they can trust your no. And that level of like that is best life ever right there. Learning to set boundaries in that sense by not impulsively saying yes to everything, and just give yourself a little bit of time. And the answer may be yes, but at least you'll know that it's coming from a place of like, you've really looked at your calendar, you really know you can take it on, and you feel good about it.
Yeah, that's huge. Oh my God. I just sat here. I was like, yeah, oh my God, yeah. And it still happens to me. Every once in a while, I'll say yes to something, and like, you know pretty much right away, like you're in your stomach, you feel that like, ugh, like yeah, sure, ugh, right? Like instead of like, oh my God, I agreed to do something this Saturday, and now I can't wait for the weekend. Instead, you're like, well, I wonder how long I'm going to have to be there, or how can I get out of this, right? Like what could possibly come up that I can say that I have to leave early? So asking for a little bit of time to check your calendar is the best hack ever. Also, if you say yes and then you are just like dreading it and it's going to not be the best use of your time, it's not going to be super fun, don't feel like you're stuck.
Yes.
You're never, ever, ever stuck. Now, I wouldn't be the person who's always bailing, because then that's like, then you can't trust your yes because it's just a no, right? But it's really been a big positive shift for me to know that I can get out of something if I really need and want to. So,
and that's in the highest service often,
yes.
Because we think that just because we agreed to something that it's in the highest integrity is to just show up, even if we're like super bummed about it, right? It's like, actually, no, most people wouldn't want you showing up if it's going to be something that is upsetting to you or taking you away from your best life ever. So yeah, as long as it's not a pattern.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to ask clarifying questions before you say yes to something too. That's something I also learned, where I like to, like, it's okay to want to find out more before you say yes, right? Like, oh, this sounds really interesting. Can you tell me more? Can you tell me how much time this would require of me? What does it look like? What if I can't show up on this day or that day? Is it still something that I could do? Right? It's like, ask clarifying questions so that you don't just feel like you have to say yes just without knowing.
Yeah. People like ask in really sneaky ways. They're like, oh, what are you up to this weekend? You're like, nothing. Why? And they're like, oh, are you free on Saturday? Yeah. What's up? Can you help me rearrange my entire house from floor to ceiling and then use your truck to move and then refile all my papers? And you're like, I actually think I have something.
Yeah. So the first thing, like if somebody asks you, like, what are you doing this weekend? You say, I'm not sure. Why?
What? Yeah. I've
Oh,
gotten
that's
to
so
that
funny.
so many times.
Yeah, and just knowing that it's like coming from a place of love. Like I think that's where we get really messed up when it comes to boundaries is we think that like the most loving thing is to just be like all yes all the time. And that's just inaccurate. It's not true. And so if we can reframe it in our own minds and know that like sometimes no is the most loving answer.
Totally.
Yeah.
Which brings us to sub-secret number 3, which we've
Yay.
actually said many times, but that's
Say it
just
again.
say it again. Create time for the things that bring you joy. Guys, we are really doing our best to eat our own dog food on this one because it is so easy to say, oh, well, this is a really busy season. I'll do it later. Oh, we're kind of tight on money right now, so we'll do that later. Oh, I did it last week, so I can go a few weeks before I do it again. Like, no, no,
No.
stop that right now. Drop that. Cut it out. It is not serving anybody. And we, like, thank God Kimi is like so amazing and we're so aligned in this way because we also had to kind of work through this when we were doing our calendar. There were things that we love to do that bring us a lot of joy that we weren't doing that we said, I did this last week and I forgot how much I loved it. And at some point, let's do it again. And Kimi was like, no, you're going to do that. We're going to put it in. You're going to do it every week.
Yes, yes. I love it. I love it. This is like one of the best things you can do for your business or your life. And I get, you know what, I will say it gets weird for entrepreneurs that love what they do because it's like, well, our job brings us joy. So we could, like, sometimes for us, we have to schedule in things that are not work that bring us joy too, because we love what we do so much that sometimes we could end up sitting at a computer for 12 hours straight for sure.
Totally.
Right. And so, yeah, we remember we made a planner. Remember in our planner that we had, and part of our weekly planning process was all about a joy list. And this is something, it's so funny because I have to go back to making a joy list because I forget what I love, like what brings me joy. It's so weird that as humans, we forget what brings us joy. I don't think this is true for everybody. Like some people always know they're really good about it, but yeah, like just take some time. What a simple exercise. Write down like what brings you joy. And are you doing those things now? Do you have them scheduled in your calendar? And if not, why?
For sure. I think this is another muscle. Like, well, you have to build the muscle to I don't know, use a Pomodoro. I don't know. Whatever we always say, like it's like a muscle. You gotta practice it. Like so is this. And we forget. Like I one of the things was I just love going in the ocean. We live in Hawaii, like why don't we do that more? And I just forgot. I forgot that I loved it so much and that the time that I really enjoy being in the water
It's
is
so funny.
what
It's so funny that you forgot that you love the ocean.
I forgot
Like,
because I
it's
love
so
our business so
funny.
much.
I
Right?
know.
Like when I worked a job and I didn't start until 9 or 10 o'clock, like I would go to the beach in the morning and it was just a part of my routine. But we start a little bit earlier and I love our business. Like it's just like it had just happened, I guess. And so that's one of the things that we scheduled into our routine. And you gotta do it again. Remember that you love it and then do more of it. And we've seen people do really creative things with their joy lists. And I actually had to put mine like on those chalkboard looking things. You can get them at like Target or a craft store.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually wrote out a bunch of the things that I really love to do and put it up like right on our kitchen so that when we have spare time, it's not like, oh, what do you want to do right now? I don't know. Maybe we'll just watch Netflix again, so that we can do that. People have made joy jars and I heard a family that did this and it sounded so fun. So everyone in the family wrote on little pieces of paper things that they love to do and put it in the jar. So on Saturday mornings or whenever they have free time, someone gets to pick something out of the jar and then they all go do it. So like they go to the movies, they go bowling, or the beach, whatever it is. But it's such a cool way to bond as a family, get out, and do something that someone loves.
That's so fun. I love that. The joy jar.
We should have a daily joy jar.
We should. Yeah. And it is funny the way we forget. And I think it's seasonal too. Like there are times that we really enjoy something and then maybe we don't enjoy it anymore or we want to take a break from it, then we come back to it. Like there are no rules to following your joy, guys.
Someone's like, give me a pusa to do what I love every day. And I don't love it, but I'm still doing it because it's like a muscle and I have to keep going. Like, God, don't do that. And don't blame us.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said for, I mean, like just the vibration raising factor of following your joy. Like that's why we talk about it, because here's the truth. Like when you don't feel like shit, you do better work and you feel better in your life and you're more fun to be around. So it's just, and then you're a magnet for the things that you want. And I think one of the things that we talked about, in our live marathon with Chris Burns, I have to say it like that. When we were interviewed by him, we were just talking about like, what are the feelings that you're after in like, so a lot of us, we're working really hard. We're very like goal oriented. We've got these things in mind. Like once I get this, then I will be able to experience this, right? So what is that feeling? Is it freedom? Is it fun? Is it joy? Like a lot of us put off those feelings because we feel like we have to do something in order to get it, right? We've talked about this in past episodes. And so a way to kind of identify how to build out your joy list is to just think about like, what do you think? Like whatever you're working on right now, in order to achieve more joy in your life, more freedom, more whatever it is, like, what do you think is going to happen at that point? What are the things that you're going to do? And what are you going to feel? And how can you experience those today? That is work-life integration right there. When the things that you're striving for, you can figure out how to experience those on a daily basis. Then you don't feel like you're constantly chasing a carrot in your life, feeling unfulfilled because it's always just dangling out there in front of you like something that is like just almost in your reach. Like I'm almost there. Like, okay, by next month, things are going to like settle down and I'll be able to have some real fun. Like, no, that's not going to happen. Your job, if you're listening to this right now, your job is to have some freaking fun today. Today.
Right? Meow.
Yes.
Unless you're driving.
Have fun driving. Do a driving dance party.
With the windows down. With the music loud. Yes. At a stoplight.
Oh, I love it. All right. Do we have any? Is that it?
That's it.
Are we coming to the end of this joyous episode?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any announcements?
Of course.
Hey, it would be fun and that we would appreciate so much is for you to, if this episode sparked anything within you, if you're enjoying our podcast, we would love it so much if you could leave us an iTunes review.
Yes. Even if you didn't spark anything in you. No, I'm just kidding. Just joking. Don't do that.
And if you'd like to continue the conversation, as always, if you're not in there already, we have our Best Life Ever tribe on Facebook. It's like I liked how you described it as our coffee shop, our central perk, right?
Our central perk!
Yeah, it's where we hang out. It's where you can kind of ask us questions. We hang out. We talk about what's cool. And maybe someday we'll have a real coffee shop that we can all hang out in.
We do. It's called Co-work.
Oh, yeah,
coffee
we
shop
do.
Is Brew Bar.
Both
so true. And if you guys have, I'm sure if you're listening to this, you've heard of our 8-week online course, Broke Ass to Badass, designed specifically for entrepreneurs to grow and scale their business online. And, this also comes with productivity tips and tools like you heard today that helps you to scale your business without scaling your time and energy, be super efficient, make tons of money, serve lots of people, change the world. And if that sounds awesome to you, book a breakthrough call with us. It's free. It's an hour. It's super fun. bestlifeever.buzz/apply.
Yes. Yeah. You know what brings me joy? Breakthrough calls. They are so fun. They're so fun. I love hearing about people's dreams. Like it is the coolest part of our job, is just listening to people's amazing, inspired ideas. And, the way that people's voice changes when they speak about what comes from their heart. Oh my God. That is just, it's just everything. And seeing our badasses take those dreams and freaking run with it. And oh my God, there's just nothing better.
That's the coolest part.
We have the best job ever.
Hearing people's dreams and then seeing them actually take form and actually go out there and serve and make money. That is so, I can't believe that's our job.
I know.
It's so awesome.
We're constantly slacking each other. Pooh and I are constantly slacking each other. Oh my God, we love our job. Oh my God, best job ever. That so is, funny. It just gives me so many warm fuzzies. And by the way, speaking of our badasses, if you definitely follow us on Instagram, if you're not already, we're Instagram, we're at BLE Buzz, because we've been featuring some of our badasses. So we've been doing BLE Badass Spotlights, and it's so fun to share about them. And there's just it'll introduce you to some really, really cool people doing cool things in the world. So definitely follow us there.
Yep.
Awesome, guys. We'll have a wonderful week, and we will talk with you soon.
Bye.